Lord Phineas, a very eagerly awaited and some would say overhyped unit coming to Watcher of Realms. I think for the way he was designed, the hype is very real, but the people that were saying he was going to be the greatest hero ever, the ultimate power creep, it's dead wrong, and quite frankly, it was always dead wrong. He has actually been live on the test server for weeks now, but unfortunately, they told me and told all of us on the test server we could not cover him until November the 25th. Today is November the 26th, so now I will. He's always been intended as an enabler of crazy DPS from the Infernal Blast faction, though, as you'll see in this video, the boost his crit damage buff gives is less significant than you realize, and a boss slayer. And that's exactly what he is. He's really good in that respect. Anyone thinking he was going to be much more than that and be this arrogance or hot soot or Silas type hero that's good at everything, I think that's incorrect. I think you'll see that in this video. Very quickly, guys, this video is brought to you by SmileOne, and it is worth mentioning officially, after me asking and many creators asking forever, we are now getting a commission of sales using our SmileOne link, and I do have a new link. So check the link out over there, and you'll see we have our normal discounts right now with SmileOne. There's a cumulative top-up event going from the 22nd, which already happened, until December the 1st. But most importantly, if you want to get the most bang for your buck, there's going to be like a Black Friday, burn it all down super sale with limited available Black Friday bundles at really crazy prices. So if you're interested in that, already start thinking about it now. It's in 3 days. There's a rare summoning bundle for $30 USD worth of W gold. It's going to be 40 rare summons, 300 diamonds, a bunch of hero XP. We got a mixed bundle for $100 worth of W gold, 4 legendary summoning crystals, 30 ancients, a bunch of gold. And then finally, we've got the legendary summoning bundle for $50 worth of W gold. It's going to be 6 legendary summoning crystals, 1,000 diamonds, some XP. These are pretty good deals, very Black Friday-y. So think about it. You'll hear about it from me a bit more, but be sure if you do that or you do the cumulative top-up or anything, use my link, because at long last, officially, creators are getting a commission, so you're directly helping us. But as always, do not buy a single thing unless you already wanted to do so. Spend within your means. Happy holidays. But without a doubt, when it comes to especially the guild bosses or just boss slaying in general, this guy is super duper good. And if you can get a nice, strong Infernal Blast team around him, something like this, as you'll see here, and then we'll do another version where we bring Zealotue in for Setrum, it's pretty special, I think. I don't think for a lot of accounts he's going to be a super duper must-have, but he'll be someone everyone is happy to have because he's just super strong. It's just fairly specific what he's good at, but what he's good at is what I like the most in this game, and that is the guild bosses. And then without a doubt, if you are progressing and you have the makings of any kind of infernal comp, and you are lucky to pick up at least one copy of Lord Phineas, I think you're in pretty great shape because this guy is really cool. He brings a lot of nasty beatings to the bosses that him and his infernal allies encounter. Let's get into it, guys. The way this video is going to work, I'll do a full breakdown of the character, of his skills, his talent. Then we'll do the awakenings. The A1 and the A3 in particular, I think are fairly attainable and are quite strong awakenings. He's just a good hero. We'll talk about gearing. You can see I've got a crazy crit damage set on him right now with some nice Soulbound Arcana. We'll talk about artifacts. He's an amazing candidate for the Wailing Skull, I'll tell you right off the bat, because his base attack is through the frickin' roof. Highest of any magic damage dealer in the game by a large margin, and the second highest base attack after Ardia in the whole game. So really special stuff there. We're going to break that all down. And then, of course, I have to showcase this guy. And I think even though he's phenomenal in Guild Boss 2 in the right comp, I do think for most people, the chief use for Lord Phineas, at least initially with what we have in the game right now, and as you progress and fill out your roster, will be as a Guild Boss 1 Drake's Chasm hero. So I do want to do my showcase here. You'll see we've got this comp right now. I already have run this identical comp except with Zealotue in place of Phineas. You will see those results after we do the Phineas breakdown. That will serve as our baseline. Then we'll bring Phineas in for Zealotue as you see right now, and we'll run it again and compare those results. And then finally, I want to do one final, probably sped up run at the end, in which we bring in Zealotue for Setrum, and we get to see her and Phineas together alongside Twin Fiend. That should be pretty darn fun. I will tell you right off the bat, just a natural thing. He's another melee unit, and Nightmare is so meta right now for both the guild bosses. It takes up a melee spot, so that is a chief consideration to make. You'll see that in action at the end of this video. But right now, we have got Lord Phineas, one of the stupidest names in the game, but one of the coolest heroes. So let's get into it.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
All right, if you have not noticed, we are in fact on the Fastidious test server. So let me get that out of here so we can focus just on the gameplay and this crazy guy here, Lord Phineas. Right off the bat, before I do the stats, I want to say Lord Phineas. I think that's the dumbest name in the game. Watcher of Realms is very unique in this genre that it's not really about elements or some kind of Pokemon, blue versus green versus red, red versus blue. It's about having your lords and how you synergize within a faction. Lords are the kind of the most unique thing besides this being a tower defense game in general, right? Lords make Watcher of Realms, Watcher of Realms. Having a hero called Lord in a game built around lords and that hero not being a lord is so stupid. It's insane. And I would strongly urge the developers to just change his name to Phineas or maybe something that sounds cool and not like Billie Eilish's brother. Anyway, let's go over here. Let's go into those base stats, and you'll see they are tremendous. They really are. So here he is at A0, full promotion, 6 stars, over 30,000 HP. This is so high. It's hard to really put into words. So let me actually just compare it to the highest in the game. You can see we've got Elder over here. He comes in at 9 points under 30K, so less than Phineas. Then we've got Mr. Abomination. He had the highest HP in the game for a long time. He comes in at 30,500, so right about the same. And then we have the queen herself, Jira, with the highest HP in the whole game. She comes in at 31.4. So you can see Phineas is absolutely no joke when it comes to these base stats. It's pretty darn remarkable. He comes in at 30.7, which is about 300 more hit points than Abomination, about 800 less than Jira. He's decidedly the second best here in the game for hit points, and we already discussed it. He is the second best here in the game for base attack. It seems with these new heroes, one kind of power creep they are doing is just the stats are getting higher and higher and higher. The idea that a fighter nowadays could have less than 6,000 base attack is almost unthinkable. Every new fighter hero is now 6,000 attack or higher, and now with a magic damage dealing fighter in Phineas, which is really unique because magic heroes usually have lower base attack, he comes in not only as the highest magic damage dealing fighter by a mile, but the highest magic damage dealer by a mile as well. You can see Ingrid is number one at, I believe, 6,100, and he comes in 1,100 more than that. So Phineas is absolutely insane in the base stat department. So if we continue now, you can see the defense is quite solid, but not special. Same exact story with the magic res. His cost is a very unique and very weird 23, pretty darn high. However, you're mostly going to use him in boss content, and for that boss content, this doesn't matter, the costs. I will say there is content where the cost could matter, where this could be relevant, like Void Rift. He will be very good. He is really bursty, as you'll see with his ultimate, and it's really, really nice. You also think Faction Trials will be pretty tremendous, and this is pretty high, but you'll manage. He is worth it for all that stuff. The gist of this is, with Lord Phineas, is the things he's good at and supposed to be good at, he's very good at, and that's really nice. That's a weird, redundant sentence, but you certainly get my point. You can see the very, very typical, we're going to have to go to gear now. I hate the way they break down those stats and confuse everyone. He's got that 2.6 second base attack interval, so normal. Everything else very, very normal. Rage Regen auto, maybe one tick lower than you'd like at 13 instead of 14. Who cares? Rage Regen off of basic attacks is 10, the complete and utter standard. So there you have it. The base stats are phenomenal. And if you were wondering, you might already see 95.6K BP in a great endgame build, but not one built with BP in mind. This guy is top tier for BP affiliation. If you get him, maybe some Awakenings, get that nice Ageless Wrath and Warlord or Wicked Vengeance on him, you are going to see some really nice BP numbers. You can check out the BP list on my website, powered by Jake Smash, that we just put together. He'll be on it. If not, the day this comes out, within 2 days, definitely by Thanksgiving. So his BP is through the roof. Really exciting for people that need affiliation heroes, are lucky to get him, and care a lot about Guild Wars. So there you have it. Let's go into the skills now, starting off with the talent. When an ally uses their ultimate, this hero gains 1 stack of Viscount's Flame. Viscount's Flame is like how certain heroes in this game have their own internal feature, mechanic, mechanism, thing, whatever you want to call it. His is Viscount's Flame. If they called him Viscount Phineas, that'd be a lot cooler, I think. Lord Phineas is stupid and confusing. But you'll see each stack of this, and you can get up to 5 stacks, will give him an increase in crit damage by 25%. And you'll see with 5 stacks, it's 125% increased crit damage. So ideally, you really want to run him with one of those Infernal Lords, because with a nice build, as you'll see with our Twin Fiend here, or if you ran Soul Cadence or Pyros, they can cycle through their ults very quickly. That's a nice way to get him some nice stacks. Just to make it perfectly clear, though, he gets these stacks of Viscount's Flame from any ally. It does not have to be an Infernal ally. That is key. I drive that point home a few more times in the video. His Infernal allies only get the damage increase when they ult. Other allies that aren't Infernal won't get the damage increase for themselves, but in terms of giving the stack of Viscount's Flame to him and giving him the crit damage increase, any ally ulting will do it. So low ult cost heroes can play really well, though because it is any ally, it's not that hard to time it out to get 5 ults between his ult ending and the next ult starting. In general, though, it's pretty solid. If you look at the ult cost here, he's at 900, so that's not too cheap, but it's also not too expensive. I mentioned his ultimate. He cannot gain the flame from his ultimate, but when he uses his ultimate, afterwards he consumes all his stacks or removes all his stacks of Viscount's Flame. So it's worth trying to get as many Infernal allies to ult before he ults, because after that, he will remove them, and during it, he's actually going to double the effect of it. So that's really cool, right? If you had 5 stacks, you would have a 250% crit damage boost until the ultimate ends for the whole duration of the ultimate. Additionally, this is the support functionality in his kit. When one of his Infernal allies uses their ult, they don't just give Phineas a stack of his Viscount's Flame, they also receive crit damage increase. And you can see here it's 25%, and it lasts for a mighty 20 seconds. So if you time this all out nicely, right, use all their ults right before his, and you do it before you need a big burst, like into the shield in Guild Boss 1, or just an optimal moment with your Constance or Dolores in Guild Boss 2, you can get some really nice things here. Let's go to the kit now. A lot of people I see are disappointed by his range. This has always been his range. If there was a leak saying otherwise, that's fine. But as long as he's been on test server, this is what his range has been. He's a single tile hero with this extension of range after a big burst at the beginning of his ultimate. This extension of the range for certain stuff, certainly as you're progressing, because he's such a strong hero and notably has such high base stats, he'll be easy to build and help you progress in the beginning. So you can make use of this extended range, and he will be able to do quite cool things to help you progress just because he has the crazy stats and he's got a good kit. But mostly, this is something that doesn't matter too much in the later and end game of Watch of Realms as it stands right now. He's mostly a boss guy, so the one tile doesn't matter. It's just like Twyla, right? He's expertly designed in that aspect, and that's how he was intended, at least as I see it. So, totally normal basic over here, 120% magic damage to one enemy. It gets interesting, though, with the ultimate. So during that ultimate, this is at full skill ups. Everything you'll hear here is going to be at full skill ups. At a 900 ult cost with 600 initial rage, it's going to last for 20 seconds. He's going to increase his attack by 50%. That's post-deployment, so that's super strong, and doubles the effect of Viscount's Flame gained by the hero while increasing the attack range. So that's how you get those extra 2 tiles. So instead of the 1 tile range, it's the 3 tile range. But the key thing here is whatever Viscount's Flame you had built on him or continue to build on him during the ult, that effect is doubled. So notably, and I should have been clear on this earlier, that is gained when any ally uses their ult, right? So any low-cost ult can work really nicely. So if you're going to run him, let's say, pairing with a Nightmare faction comp, and you've got someone like Wrath, who's got that ult that can spam, or maybe you've got a Lightlock, right? Lightlock with 100 cost ult, cheapest ult in the game, he could be like a battery getting stack after stack after stack for Phineas. The only key thing when it comes to the Infernal allies is they will also get the crit damage increase, as we discussed here. Non-Infernal allies will not get that. But it's pretty cool. So likely you can design this well, plan it out well, use your technique, make sure he has 5 stacks. That's a 125% crit damage boost. Then during the ultimate, that effect is doubled. It's 50% per stack. So it's a 250% crit damage boost. We'll really put that in perspective when we go and look at the gear on this hero, and you can really get a sense of how much crit damage Phineas can have on him. You'll see then upon the initial activation, there's going to be a 800% damage burst one time to one target. So think of that as just one big bursty hit on one target. That one target, if it's a boss, is going to be the boss. So that's kind of How you can see already he's designed as a boss killing hero. And then following that, his range increases to become that ranged attack. And then he will continue for 20 seconds attacking with that big post-deployment attack boost of 50% and the doubled effect of Viscount's Flame. Last 20 seconds, then you rinse and repeat the whole thing because at the end, he removes all stacks of Viscount's Flame. So that's like something to consider, right? If you're using him properly and you're about to ult, but you notice with another hero, you're about to ult and you notice, oh, there's only 2 seconds left on Phineas's ult, maybe wait those 2 seconds, let him remove his stacks, then ult with the other hero, the ally, and allow him to quickly start rebuilding stacks. If we go to our passive here, we've got an auto Blade of Treachery. You can see kind of cool move here. He's got a nice stun, so this can give him some extra functionality besides just damage and supporting his infernal allies in Guild Boss 2. His basic attacks have a 25% chance to deal 270% damage. That's in place of the normal 120%, so increased 150%, and also inflicts stun. This is a 1-second stun on the target. This chance doubles during the ultimate, so it goes up to a 50% chance. You may have noticed this ability has extended range. However, it can only be triggered by a basic attack. So unless he has something to hit, he will never be able to use it. So if you put him like behind a tank or something in non-boss content, this actually never will trigger unless he's already ulting and already has the expanded range. So it kind of seems cooler than it is for a lot of content in enabling him, to have beyond the single tile range outside of the ultimate. It's kind of the same story here, alas. So if we go to this passive now, this one is super strong. He really shreds through the bosses. He increases penetration by 7% for each burning effect on the target up to 7 stacks. For a lot of stuff, if you've got a nice comp going focused around burn, so you're running infernal units, you're running nightmare units, you're going to see that in this video, you can pretty comfortably maintain 7 stacks of burning. And that means he's getting 7% penetration per stack, 7 stacks, 49% penetration. So he is ignoring nearly half of the target's magic resistance. This makes the attack requirement for him to be really effective far lower. So you can just really, really, really invest in crit damage. And specifically in Guild Boss 2, Semra, where the defense and magic resistance is super high, that penetration can be totally key, especially as you're progressing. But later on, when it comes to hitting super high numbers and getting really big DPS, you're going to want to design a comp where you get lots of burn stacks. So maybe an Infernal Nightmare comp would be a nice choice. It might take some intentionality when it comes to building your team compositions, but at the very least, you can always get a couple burning stacks pretty easily. Getting the full 7 can be kind of hard. So let me actually quickly show you that now. Normally, I'd go from skills to awakenings, but I just want to show you. So this is what we're cooking with, right? He's got such high base attack that I got him to 20.3k. Granted, this is very good endgame test server gear, but we did that with 3 crit damage main stats on the right, triple crit damage on the right. We got a Warlord going on the left. Again, this is very good gear, but you can get him over 20k attack with complete investment into crit damage. So this attack is already through the roof, especially once you get burns up and he starts penetrating their magic resistance, which is like the magic version of defense. That attack is plenty. Then we built him with 427% crit damage, but don't forget, get 5 stacks of Viscount's Flame. That's another 125%. So he's up to 552% crit damage. But then on top of that, during the ultimate, the effect of the 5 stacks of Viscount Flame are doubled. So this guy gets up to 677% crit damage. I think I did that math right. 677% crit damage. I'm sure that will be on the thumbnail. It is so nasty. Like that's crazy what you can get out of this guy, all while still having crazy high attack because his base stats are broken and power crept. So as I've said a few times in this video, for the content he's good at, he's really good at. I'll say one other quick thing. Because his base HP is so high, if you put like a lunacy visor on him, theoretically he could maybe tank some stuff. The defense is solid. The attack is high enough that you could even go 1 HP on the right side. It's an interesting thing to do. To take you through this build, you can see Soulbound Arcana, I think, is going to be the best for him, mostly because this 800% burst does not qualify as a basic attack, so that kind of rules out Infernal Roar. However, all the other damage is going to qualify as basic attacks, so Infernal Roar isn't a bad choice. As always, Ageless Wrath is not a bad choice, but I think pretty clearly for him, Unbelievable choice is going to be Soulbound Arcana. Cataclysm, the new tier 3 set, is going to be excellent as well, since only one instance of damage doesn't count as a basic attack. You build him as a crit capped unit, he's going to be at that 45% the whole battle. So Cataclysm, Soulbound Arcana number 1, and then you can already start looking at the others after that. If you want to talk about what is his best, non-tier 2 or tier 3 set, for me, it's obviously going to be Night Terror or Wisdom. That's kind of the case for every hero, but you get it. I'll say Insight, there might be a little extra bonus because his base attack is so high, but the effect outside of the extra crit rate given by Insight, to me, is pretty negligible. I think the sets we already discussed, those are the key things. So this is the build. I'll show you the total stats again. 20.3k attack. We got him pretty fast at 342. Faster would be nice, but this is fine. And that allowed us to get this crazy high crit damage, which is going to go up another 250% during his ultimate if we do everything perfectly. So crazy, crazy stuff. We even got a touch of rage regen. I'm very happy with this build. Quite frankly, the test server, I've got the best gear ever, right? It's not real life. So I'm kind of really happy with all my builds. I want to quickly show you this Twyla build. This Twyla build is going to blow your mind. We went triple crit damage on the right, and then we even got extra crit damage from the left with some of this Wicked Vengeance gear. And you can see this Twyla build, even at A0, is going to blow people's minds because she's 17.6k attack. I'm not going to show you everyone's build. It really doesn't matter. Everyone has awesome builds. But 467% crit damage. Really, really, really crazy. Enough about Twyla. This video is about Phineas. I will say, for Artifact, Wailing Skull is so good, right? Because Wailing Skull scales, you get the Shadow Summon, that Shadow Lizard version of Komodo that shows up, and it's getting 150% of the hero's attributes that you build on them. Phineas, we built crazy attributes on, and we were able to because he has crazy base stats. So this, like with Twyla, for example, is such a good choice. Outside of Wailing Skull, with the Mythics, nothing totally jumps off the page. If you're bringing a different hero like a Twyla or a Salazar that's giving bleed, obviously you'd be quite happy with Scarlet Hunt. Void Gazer's not going to be a good choice, or it's called Realm Tear. I always call it by its old name, because most of the time he does not have that expanded range, so he's not going to get this huge benefit. For other stuff, like I said, Lunacy Visor, if you want to run him as a tank, someone directly taking on damage, this is great. Definitely build him a little faster in that case. And then finally, I'll say what I always say in a lot of these videos. If you want to go for a legendary artifact, Watchguard's Ambition is phenomenal. 10% extra chance for a basic attack at base promotion, and then at full promotion, it's 15%. I love, love, love that legendary artifact. Finally, let's go to the Awakenings. At A1, we discussed this passive, the auto Blade of Treachery. This is a 25% base chance to deal 270% damage with the basic instead of 120%, and also inflict that 1 second stun. The chance is doubled at the ultimate. Now at A1, it increases by 5%. So the base chance is now 30%, 60% chance during the ultimate. It might not sound like much, but it does make quite a nice difference. And then finally, whenever he does trigger it, he will inflict burning. It's a typical 20% continuous magic damage, 5-second duration burning. And that allows him to be kind of self-sufficient in enabling his Insidious Blaze passive, which is a key part of his kit. Obviously, there's a lot of content, as we discussed, where you'll bring other heroes that can give the burn, so it doesn't matter too much. But this does kind of take him up another level. The A2 plus 5% attack, that's very unique because there's very few heroes in this game where the 5% is better than plus 300. But as you can see, with Phineas, with 7,200 base attack, plus 5% is actually plus 360, right? Plus 360 more attack. So it's very, very strong. He has enough attack as it is, but why not get a little more? The A3, I love. When an Infernal Blast ally uses their ultimate, the talent switches to granting crit damage increase to them instead. This seems weird. They already are getting that. That's just a Watcher of Realms ism. You can see previously it was a plus 25% crit damage boost for 20 seconds. With the A3, now instead of 25%, he is giving them 50%, and that is a lot of crit damage. At A4, he gets 8% penetration, so this plus 7 stacks of burning on the boss target or whatever you're targeting that has burns on it. If you have the max 7 stacks plus the A4, you're talking a 57% penetration that he gets. So he's only having to deal with 43% of the typical magic resistance on the target. That's crazy. And then finally, the A5 is very good, but it's very RNG-y. I could see this being very good in future content where maybe you would need it. Right now, I think it is just like a crazy potential bonus. If you're hunting for like a top score in APOC 2 or something, you might run over and over trying to get this. Essentially, it's after his ultimate ends, you've got a 50-50 chance that he does not get rid of all his Viscount's Flame, does not remove it, does not consume it. So essentially, he'll just keep at the 5 stacks because you probably already got him at 5 stacks, and that will last through the next ultimate, and then once again, there'll be a 50-50 check. You can see, this guy is really cool. I really do like him. I did just have to make a point that I think people overhyped him as like the new best hero in the game. Something I've been guilty of in the past, right? When Uridin first arrived on test server, before I could play him, I was like, this is clearly going to be the best hero ever. I think a lot of us did make that mistake. And Uridin just ended up being pretty good, not even close to the best. He's definitely very, very good. But the idea that he's going to dominate all of PvE and bosses and arena and GVG, I don't think that will be reality. That being said, there could be a new meta that arises in like single target arena with him because the burst is crazy. It's very deletey. He's kind of like an Infernal Salazar. I saw Ronaldo say that in a comment somewhere, and I really did agree with that. But to me, the key place for Phineas is going to be boss content. So let's show him off in Drake's Chasm, Guild Boss 1. Let's do this. All right, guys, here you go. This is the run I did to set a baseline for us. So this is exactly the comp we're going to go in using Phineas. However, I replaced Phineas with Zealot, and you can see here I wrote all these numbers down so we can do a nice comparison of damage at the end. But it went Hex, then Zealot, Twyla, so on and so on. You can get a sense. We came in with just less than 70,000 blood, which to some of you may seem like a ton. To others, it may seem underwhelming. The key thing I would like to say to you is all of these heroes, except for Twin Fiend, who is at A1 for his special passive increase that he can do the increased damage taken from the magical and physical damage vulnerabilities. Aside from that, everyone else is A0. Literally all these heroes, and of course the epics are A5. You can see Twin Fiend A1 and all these other guys are A0. It's actually an incredibly high score for A0 heroes. Let's actually go in and let's do exactly the same comp. I'm going to try to do no cuts here so you guys can see it silky smooth. We'll take the Phineas's gear, which I'd put on Zealot. Let's put it back on Phineas. You see I saved this set over here. It was called Crit Damage Soulbound Arcana. Let's throw that over here. These are the stats if you need a little reminder. Really good stuff. You might be wondering why it's a little lower on the attack. That's because those stats do not include his artifact, which he's wearing a maxed out Wailing Skull. There you go. You can see. I will say in Phineas's favor here, this gear is, I'd say, a nice chunk better suited for him than Zealot, but it's still an unbelievable set. So Zealot had a real shot. I also gave Zealot her maxed out exclusive artifact. So pretty fair. The most interesting part of this whole thing will come right after this run, but we do need to set a standard run, and that will be when we run Phineas and Zealot together, taking advantage of the crazy focus fire interaction between Zealot and Twin Fiend, while Phineas is also putting out crazy damage and boosting all these other great Infernals. So this is the comp. Let's go right in. One final thing I do want to say, thank God for the new exclusive piece of gear for Dolores. Now we have the increased 20% chance to get the boosted Rage Regen. Combine that with the A5. That brings us from an 80% to a 100% chance. So no more Dolores RNG. Should be a very smooth, consistent run. You know, there might be a couple earlier or later clicks throughout, but we should have a really nice comparison. And then, of course, we're going to go in and we're going to do a beautiful test of Phineas with Zealot. It is worth mentioning you also saw Dolores is not wearing Invig and not wearing a maxed out Wings of Grace. Wings of Grace is really bugged right now. The way Wings of Grace interacts when also using Invigoration, it is not good because the stacking's not going right and it's very bad. So I'm running Dolores broken, no Invig. So another reason that last score is crazy high. But you'll see the Invig will go on Hex, Phineas, and Twyla. Without further ado, let's go into the battle. Actually very curious. This is going to be my first official test besides just general playing around with him and all different content. So let's go in. Let's get Hex down here. Let's place that. Let's get Phineas. We got to actually wait a second, or we got to just do this really, really fast. So we'll do Phineas, quick buff from Torador. So that's Invig. Now let's get Twyla in front so he doesn't block her out with the Wailing Skull. You'll see now we've all got Invig. Twyla needs to get it, excuse me. So let's give Twyla her Invig as well. So you'll see we got Invig from Hollow, Invig from Laurel, Invig from Torador, who we already picked up. We've got Invig on Phineas, Invig on Twyla, and Invig on Hex. Now we can start placing the rest of our units. Whoops, I put Hollow in the wrong spot. 1 second. All right, this is where Hollow should go, here. because I need this spot for Setram. Setram will go there. We get Twin Fiend, and finally we get Dolores. Arrogance will be a cycle unit. We're off to the races. Let's try to time this all out. We're going to use all these Infernal guys when Hollow's at about 90 or so. Well, actually, we'll use Hex and, well, Twilight can already go, excuse me. That's when we'll use Hex, and then we're going to use Phineas and Twin Fiend right before Hollow's at like 100%. So let's wait. Let's go with Hollow. It's always way too tight with Dolores over here. Very much frustrates me. As long as we trigger her before Twin Fiend goes, perfect. Let's get Setram going. As soon as Setram starts ulting, we can pick up with Laurel. We got these freaking left, right, and center. We've got all these Wailing Skulls, so we got to wait for Arrogance. We can hold off on Twin Fiend for a second as well. Let's wait. Oh my god, this Wailing Skull needs to go away. Let's trigger. Dude, go away. There we go. Perfect. All right, let's see. You see, we're guaranteed to have Dolores full and ready to go, but I will still wait to time. Actually, we got Phineas here, so we'll just do it. Boom, boom. Time it out with Twyla, get a little Hex going. You guys probably seen me do these runs so many times, so I'm not going to over-explain everything. I think we get a lot of what's going on, but when I see something interesting, I shall do it. Basically, we want Phineas to go after everyone else is ulted as much as possible because we want to build those flames. That's why I held off there a little longer. I actually probably should have done Twin Fiend right before him, so that's another optimization you guys can look out for. Just in general, whenever any ally can ult, if it's close to when he's about to ult, make sure the ally goes first. Get those flames up on him. Let's see. Almost time to pick up Arrogance. This timing actually is pretty rough here with Laurel. So actually what we're going to do, we're going to wait on all of this. Give me 1 second. Let's pick up Arrogance. Let's trigger here. Trigger. Trigger. You can see there's no icon here showing the flames stacking up, which really is too bad. So yeah, that just was like rough timing with the way it worked out with Laurel. So that's something to optimize, but you'll see we'll get this trigger. He's still locked out from Twin Fiend. As soon as we can, we'll go. Okay, now we can go up. Trigger, trigger. All right, kind of off to the races now. It's too bad we also don't have the current stats tracker like we do in Guild Boss 2. I would love to see that in content like this. Be very tight with Twin Fiend, but worst case, we'll just quick click Dolores. We should have the buff going when it's needed. Like this is a good example, right? No reason not to wait for Twin Fiend quickly. Use him, then quickly right after use Phineas. That's just one extra stack we can guarantee of the flames. I'm sure you can get to a point if you do these runs a lot when you can count. Oh, I already had 5. It's fine. You can kind of learn that rotation. But in general, you know, when in doubt, if there's another ult close, try to get that other ult in first. Because, I mean, 25%, but really during the ult, 50% extra crit damage is such a big deal. It really is. See, we're already over 30% halfway through the battle. Throw this back on 2x, keeping an eye on everything. We'll just ult with Dolores. Yeah, we can go with her right away. Trigger. Let's go with Hex before Twin Fiend. Let's throw us on 1x. We can pick up Torador. Let's go down. Let's get the trigger with Twyla to get the damage boost from Laurel. Now we'll pick up. As soon as we can, we'll trigger Phineas. He clearly is going to have 5 stacks now. So keep in mind, right now, in this moment, he has 677% crit damage. Just crazy. And we've got a lot of burns. Let's see. Does it tell us how many stacks of burns we got? Looks like just the soul stack, actually. So a big consideration would be like maybe you bring a Lust, right? Who all her attacks are placing burns. Maybe you bring a Nye, could have a nice synergy here. In certain content, you know, you want to make sure you're having very nice uptime on the burns. Here we get some from Twin Fiend. We get, without Zeala 2, it's a little less, but the next battle you're about to see, we will have it with Zeala 2. But like Twilight, for example, is not bringing any burns. So if you're talking just for Phineas maximization, really giving him the best output, you want to make sure we've got nice burns. So there we got 3 stacks of burns right now. So now he's penetrating 21%. So yeah, but very, very reasonably, you could get 5+ all the way up to the max 7 with the right comp. Like someone like Lus, if she's bonded with Arrogance, would be very reliable for that. Obviously, someone like a Nye would be very good for that. So coming up towards 50K. Very TBD if we're going to get the performance we got from Zeal 2. But remember, Zeal 2 is kind of the queen in Guild Boss 1 and has just the greatest interaction, really a bugged, broken interaction with Focus Fire from Twin Fiend or Pyros. So let's wait. So here, very close, you can see we've got Dolores, we've got Hollow, we got Phineas. Let's definitely get those Dolores and Hollow ults off first. Just guarantees us 2 more stacks. Almost certainly he's at the full 5 stacks now. We just passed 50K. Pretty huge number for just Twin Fiend being A1, everyone else A0. Let's wait 1 second. We're gonna pick up Arrogance. Okay, boom. Let's get Laurel down. Let's trigger Twin Fiend. Let's get Laurel up. Great. Setram. Let's get Torador. We just got Setram before he got locked out. Easily, you can easily, because it's all allies, you can easily be getting 5 stacks if you're paying attention. Easily. Tons of damage right now. We're looking really good to beat the number. So it's very, very impressive. Let's see it. Let's see how we do. Leave. I'm going to hold off on Twin Fiend here so I can line him up with Dolores. We need Dolores at about 83% for that to happen. There's no big rush because he can only get 1 more off anyway. So this will ensure that he is, when he does his burst, Dolores is ulting. And we can just throw it on auto now. And let's see how we did. Very close, 67. So kind of neck and neck. I mean, right off the bat, the fact that he is a replacement endgame for Zealatu is phenomenal. That's a crazy performance. But as you're going to see, I think the most exciting thing is going to be placing him alongside Zealatu. So how about we do that right now? Here's a quick check-in on our numbers. Interestingly enough, right, every time Hex ults, he should be getting a 25% crit damage boost, right? I mean, he is from Phineas. It's not the biggest game changer of all time. My timings were very similar to what they were. Obviously not exactly identical perfect, but to what they were the run right before that you saw the end result of. So Hex did only 1.9 million more damage. He did 155.5 last time. You'll see Twyla, their little variance there. She did 5 million more damage. Zealatu did almost exactly 140 million. Phineas is at 127.7. So a little bit of a chunk less, but right within the range. Setram, almost exactly the same. He did 74.8 last time. Now he's doing 74.75. You can see Twin Fiend almost exactly the same. So you don't actually feel the crazy, or at least here in this instance, because this is very consistent. I'll put the graphic up right now so you're seeing it all side by side if I haven't done that already. What I was hoping was some fairly significant boost in the output from our Infernal Blast allies because they're getting that crit damage boost. We're really not seeing it. I mean, granted, their crit damage already is really high. All these guys are in great gear. But we're seeing Hex go up by less than 2 million. We're seeing Setram go down by a couple 100,000. We're seeing Twin Fiend go down by about 500,000. Not so wild. Again, what I'm most curious about is Phineas and Zealatu. So let's do that. All right, let's get into it. You'll see a couple changes here. We took out Setram and we took out Arrogance. Why do we have to take out Arrogance? Well, now between Twyla, Phineas, and Zealatu, those are 3 melee units we want down for the whole battle. Before we had Torador and Arrogance in like a cycling melee spot. That's no longer an option. So we need a cycling unit to be a platformer. I chose Silas. Obviously, no Lord for him, but he'll be fine. He's bonded Silas. Again, A0. We're keeping consistent with that. He's in the exact same gear as Arrogance. Zeal2 is in nearly the same gear as Setram, except instead of Wicked Vengeance over here with Setram's exclusive, I put her in some Annihilating Might. That was to give her a little bit more attack speed based on the gear, and that was to give her full crit cap. Setram doesn't really need full crit cap since he builds crit during his ultimate anyway. So there you can see. For the Invigoration units, again, Dolores doesn't have it, so we only have 3 sources, Torador, Laurel, and Hollow. Those will land on Phineas, Hex, and Zealot 2, so this time Twyla will not have it, but it's about the Infernals. That's the comparison I want to make. Aside from that, it's going to be a similar battle. I think we'll do the setup together, and then I'll just stop talking and I'll check in at the end of the battle. So without further ado, let's get into it and let's see what is the total potential on this A0 team led by Phineas, now with Zealot 2 alongside him. So let's see. First placement, we can place Phineas right here. Let's place Torador in front. That's going to give an Invig. We can pick up Torador. Now we can place Zealot 2 here, so she's blocking. Normally, it is optimal to keep Zealot 2 in the spot Phineas is in, because the blocking, the 20% damage boost, is not as good as having her in Laurel range. However, this is a Phineas showcase, and only one of our melee units can be in Laurel rage cycling range, so I'm choosing to put Phineas there. Without a doubt, you can expect her damage to be lower, but hopefully the total damage is higher. So you can see we've placed all of this stuff. Key thing now is going to be we get Hex here. Now we place Laurel here, and we should have all our Invig buffs now basically placed. So we've got Zealot 2. So actually, this is going to come down to some randomness. Hope this is going to land on Zealot 2 or Twyla. Please land on Zealot 2, and it did. All right, so we got Invig on Zealot 2, none on Twyla. We've got Invig on Hex, and we've got Invig on Phineas. Let me fill out the rest of this very, very quickly. So let's get Twin Fiend here. Let's get Dolores here. And now we're off to the races. We've got our cycle units out. We've got Laurel waiting. Let's do this perfectly. So we want Phineas to be after 5 ults, so we can already trigger with Twyla. I always do Twyla right away because you want to start building her passive. We're going to hold off. We're going to wait till we're at 90% here for Hollow. Let's trigger. Let's trigger. Now, right when Hollow's at about 100%, we'll quickly do Twin Fiend, then Phineas, and you can see we had 4 triggers. So actually, we'll do Hollow, then Phineas. So now we got 5 stacks. Perfect. We wait for Dolores to build up. I don't know why she takes so long, but we got it just in time. Now we can pick up. We get Silas down in that Laurel spot, and we're off to the races. I'm going to tear through this. So we're going to see how well we can do. Let's actually time out this one nice burst here. Beautiful. I can already get going with Silas. And you'll see we're off to the races. It's going to be a very strong run. I'll check back with you guys with maybe a minute and a half, a minute left, and we'll see how we're doing. Let me get myself out of the way. We'll speed this up a little bit. All right, we're about to take on the final shield here, coming up on 50K as well. In general, I'd say it's going pretty smooth. It's very hard. Phineas is not lining up with Dolores as nicely as I would like, so I think he's taking a hit here, but overall, the run's feeling quite smooth. Things are lining up pretty well. Get a little bit of Silas action here before we pick him up. We're going to hold off on Phineas and everybody till... I'm going to hold off on Phineas specifically until I can get Laurel down. Let's get a damage boost. Boom. Decision time with Twin Fiend. I think we'll be fine because he's going to come back up only one time anyway for the rest of the battle. So we can get that going. Most times it seems I'm able to get 4 or 5 plus off. So it's very consistent keeping the uptime on the Viscount's Flame. If there's something I could suggest to the devs, it's definitely have a visual indicator here so you can kind of check maybe before you ult to see how many stacks they have. I see no reason not to include stuff like that. And I feel like consistently they do not. Just a little disappointing. I can quick trigger with Dolores. See, the number's looking pretty good. It's going to be in about the same range here. So in general, we're just proving he's decidedly an excellent Guild Boss 1 unit. We're comparing him to all the other very bests in the game, to be fair. I'm not seeing him shining brighter than any of them, but he's shining alongside them. He also is getting locked. Normally you have until about here on Twin Fiend to prevent a lockout. Consistently, he's getting locked out earlier than I would expect. I don't know what that kind of, bug or mechanism or mechanic is that's causing that. That's happened to us twice, and that's probably suppressed the score by like 1 or 2,000. Nothing too crazy. And throw the auto ults on now. Home stretch here. Let's see. We're in the same range every time, right? We had 68, then we had 67. This one's coming in the mid 68s as well. 68.6. There you have it. The big moment, though, I'm very curious where this damage is going to show up. So let's see it. And we can see we got this nice big 3, insanely consistent, right? So Hex here is coming in at 158.3. Previously he did, I'll put the graph up right now so you can see. Previously he did 155.5 with Zealo2, 157.5 with Phineas, and now 158.3. So it's all within that margin of error. Zealo2, even this is actually very impressive. Zealo2 outside. So she's getting quite a nice boost from Phineas. That must be it, because Zealo2 is putting up 136.7, rounding up to 136.8. She put up 139.9, so again, kind of a rounding error, but that was with her in Laurel range. So now she is getting a damage boost because she's blocking the boss, but that crit damage from Phineas must be pushing her way over the edge with her interaction with Twin Fiend to keep her at almost the same amount when she's outside of Dolores range. You can see Phineas here coming in at 118.8. Pretty similar, a little bit less. Like I said, we had those 2 lockouts which hurt us, but still kind of, within a reasonable range. Twyla way less now. We did have no arrogance, and we had less nightmare units to deploy. She's at 100.2. And then we've got Twin Fiend. He's up a little bit, so he got a little Phineas boost this time, or just some RNG. He's at nearly 56 million. And then Silas as our cycling unit, not nearly as good as arrogance. Overall, though, it's kind of a wash. We're falling in this 67K, 68K, 67 to 69K range. Pretty darn impressive, though. You guys can see Phineas is just a very good hero. It's as simple as that. He's very good at what he's good at. He's someone that if you need help in Guild Boss 1 or certainly Guild Boss 2 and you have Infernal units, you can be excited about. I think with the content we have right now, to think he's going to break any metas, I think is just wrong. He might enable some other things to become more relevant or closer to the meta, but this is not just, wow, Watcher of Realms, every unit's a power creep. That's not what we're looking at here, but we are looking at an excellent hero. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the guide. This was a long one, but there was a lot to discuss. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe. If you're excited about Phineas, let me know. We'll do a pulls party this weekend. Interesting stuff. I've been Fastidious. Share with your mother. I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.